To understand how quickly fascists can win, you need to understand the Shock Doctrine. Scholar Naomi Klein devised the idea of the Shock Doctrine in her book back in 2007. The idea of the Shock Doctrine comes from shock and awe, this military strategy, this idea that if you use quick, overwhelming force that never stops, you will leave your opponent unable to respond to any of your individual attacks because they're happening everywhere all the time. Klein also noticed this explains situations in politics and economics where crisis, either man-made or natural, were used to radically reshape things within a very short amount of time. And that very short amount of time and the non-stop nature of all the changes constantly occurring and constant crises resulted in a situation where opposition was unable to form proper resistance to those changes. One of the big examples she uses is the overthrow of democracy in Chile, where the democratically elected government of Salvador Allende was overthrown by the military regime of Augusto Pinochet, reforming Chile towards hyper-elites and the military rule, changing their politics and economy. Pinochet wouldn't die until 1 year before this book was written. The economic and political planners of this coup helped to plan the entire new economic and political structure, having a literal hundreds of pages document that they were going to immediately implement once they seized power, in an identical operation to what we saw with Donald Trump's own Project 2025. Similarly, we saw the same changes happening both in the fascist takeover of Austria, Italy, and Germany individually, where the new government, the new regime came in to completely wash out the old one within days. We have to understand, from the moment the National Socialists took power in Germany to taking absolute control was a matter of 2 months. We're talking about days at this point. And it is because they were able to rapidly put in, implement, and measures that they had pre-planned, and they created a situation where they did so much so fast that the opposition was unable to respond to anyone with enough force to stop anything. This also ties into the MAGA movement's media strategy of flooding the zone. The idea is that you create so many things for people to be responding to or panicking about or worrying about that none of those individuals can gather enough steam to result in any actual damage to your regime. So the reason they are doing things so quickly, so fast, so brazenly is because there is no other way to actually achieve those goals. If they did it one at a time or in a anyway sort of normal way of passing legislation, then it would be impossible for them to actually reach their end goal of dismantling the republic and creating a situation where they are the only political movement that has any legitimacy and any allowance to rule. Remember, fascism happens slowly, and then all at once. Please share, repost, and give this some traction.